focuses on different aspects of the transportation sector. The series is scheduled on the second Friday of every month and will feature experts from various transportation fields sharing their experiences and valuable research ideas. The inauguration talk of the series was held on 10th February 2023 through an online platform where more than 200 participants from eminent institutions, departments, etc. attended. The inauguration address was given by Professor Dr. Tom V. Matthew, Chairman Research Council, KSCSTE-NATPAC, and Professor IIT Bombay. The first talk in the series was delivered by Dr. Srinivas S. Pulgurta, Professor and Research Director of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of North Carolina, on the topic Advancing Crash Frequency Prediction Modeling Using GIS. The talk series was then carried forward by eminent faculties and experts like Dr. Rajiv B. Malik, Professor R. Krishnan, Engineer Tony Matthew, Dr. Varun Varghese, Dr. Sunanda Disnaike, Dr. Neeraj Buch, Professor Sabya Mishra, so on and so forth. The 18th talk in the series is organized by the Transportation Planning Division of NATPAC and will be delivered by Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan, Senior Transport Consultant, Multilateral Development Banks. It is with great pleasure and enthusiasm that I stand before you today to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker who has graciously accepted our invitation to share insights and knowledge in the realm of improving road safety engineering and management capacity in India. After the presentation, we'll have a question and answer session where you can pose your questions and engage in a meaningful dialogue with Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan. Feel free to participate actively. Once again, thank you for being here today. And let's give our warmest welcome to Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan and as we eagerly await the insights he is about to share. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the welcome note. Now, I would like to invite Sri Ashik K. Asad, Junior Scientist, NATPAC, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Ashwini. Good morning to all. It's with great pleasure that I stand before you to introduce our distinguished speaker for this technical talk, an individual whose expertise and insights promise to enlighten and inspire us all. Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan is a civil engineer from Osmania University and did his master's degree in transportation engineering from the University of Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. He also holds an MBA from the University of Virginia. Mr. Krishnan is a senior transportation consultant with more than 25 years of experience in transport infrastructure development, regulation, and road safety management across various nations such as the USA and South Asian countries like the India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, also the countries like Vietnam, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. Over the last 2 decades, he has worked with multinational, multilateral, and bilateral development agencies to evolve transportation solutions in South Asia, playing key roles in formulation of new legislation and policy for safer roads and vehicles. Currently, he supports projects of the World Bank and other entities in the Indian subcontinent in formulation of safe system programs, strategies, action plans, project safety assessments, and development of MIS application in road crash data and asset management. In India, he has supervised the design and implementation of safety projects on the national highways and state highways in the states such as Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Telangana, Gujarat, Kerala, Karnataka, etc. Mr. Krishnan is also helping the Indian Road Congress to devise new codes and standards for safer roads and highways in India. He has contributed to country-specific road safety reports on India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, and is a featured speaker at various national and international forums. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present you the speaker whose expertise knows no bounds. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Anish, for that introduction, and thank you to NATPAC for inviting me for this lecture, which is series in the TransTech series. Let me start sharing my presentation. A second. Okay, is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay.
It will be put in a presentation board, sir.
I thought it was in presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now it is in presentation mode.
Okay. Okay. Before I begin, I just wanted to start with a small anecdote. In one of the countries, somewhere, someone was traveling in a car, and he gets a call from his wife. And his wife is watching television where they're showing someone going in the wrong direction on a national highway. And so this wife tells her husband who is driving that be careful, because some nutcase is driving in the opposite direction on the highway that you are traveling on. So then he responds, not one, but thousands of people are traveling in the opposite direction. So, that goes to show that, everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing on the highway, but they're actually maybe not following the rules. So in this case, this person is thinking that he's in the right, whereas all the other people who are actually, traveling in the correct direction or going the wrong way. So anyway, that's one of the problems in India. In fact, if you look at the national road accidents in 2022 report, about 4.5% of the fatalities that's the next highest after speeding, are due to wrong side driving in India. So that is one of the issues that we need to be looking at. But I just wanted to put that in perspective before we start. So quickly, how I'm going to do this is go through this agenda that I've set up. What are some of the challenges in India? What is a good framework to think about these challenges in? How does India fare on some of these key management framework elements? What are some good examples that we can, both from India as well as from other countries, that we can adapt? What are some of the issues in work zone safety that we can actually control? And what may be required from a road safety management perspective? With that, I will not dwell too much on why we should be looking at road safety. It has been in the news. The government is very much committed to reducing road fatalities in the country, especially in the last after the enactment of the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act. The reason we need to be looking this is, if you look at the number of fatalities, 150,000 on average over the last decade or so, and this is a huge number. In fact, this may not even be something that you see in a war. So this is the kind of loss that you're facing, which actually also leads to not just physical distress, but also economic distress, especially for households, because most of the people who are killed are the poor and the vulnerable. As you can see, more than 2/3 of the fatalities from the last report are again either cyclists, motorcyclists, two-wheeler riders, three-wheeler riders, or pedestrians. So this is why we need to look at improving road safety in our country, because it's going to lead to a lot of economic distress, and it's also loss of productivity. One of the reports of the World Bank actually says that this could lead to up to 3 to 5% of GDP loss in countries such as India. So that's why we need to be more concerned about how we can actually make this a national priority, and why we should be looking at it more seriously. So what has been the reason for some of these fatalities? The simple fact is there's been a rapid growth in motorization. If you can see the compound annual growth rate over the last 50 years has been more than 10% in motorization, and that has led to a growth in fatalities. Although the length of road network has increased, the issue is not the length, because you have multiple modes using the same width of the roadway, and that is where you have a lot of interaction between the heavier vehicles and non-motorized transport as well as pedestrians, which actually causes all these crashes and high risks. So next, who, where, and why are these fatalities? Among these fatalities, what is happening? Who are these victims? Where are these victims, and why it's happening? We talked a little bit about the why. Who already we talked about. So you can see that almost 50%, almost half of motorcyclists, about a fifth are pedestrians, and rest are, I mean, about 7% are both cyclists and three-wheeler riders. Why? Because one of the primary things is our roads are not built to cater to all road users. Primarily, we are looking at motorized transportation for when we are looking at roads, and we are not designing for other users of the road, which is what is causing some of these interactions and some of these risks and crashes. According to the road accident report 2022, speeding is a big factor. More than 70% of fatalities are happening due to speeding. And you can see, like as I said in the earlier slide, 2/3 of the victims are also aged in the productive age group of 18 to 45. So, and this you may not, many may not be aware, about more than 4,000 on average are working in our construction or happening. Crash fatalities are happening in our construction work zones, not crashes, fatalities. So if you think about it, that's about 10 10 jumbo jets in a year, the crashes of 10 jumbo jets a year in terms of fatalities. In terms of where most of these are happening, or about 60% are happening on the national and state highways. Most of them are happening in inter-urban areas of the roads, and about a fifth are happening at junctions. So with this kind of statistics, we need to think about road safety more as a system management challenge. With that, I mean, it's not something that you can just do by doing one thing or another, but it is a complete system where you will be looking at the 5 major aspects that contribute to the road safety environment. That is roads, as well as users, as well as what speeds are being they are subject to, on what speeds that are mandated on the roads, the types of vehicles that are let onto the roads, and the type of post-crash management in case of an incident. So all these have to be effectively managed to deliver road safety. Unless all of these are taken systematically and done in a comprehensive manner, we cannot expect to reduce our road fatalities in the near future in a significant manner. So one of the good frameworks which most advanced countries have followed, and which has been pioneered by Tony Bliss and Gene Breen, is this kind of a framework where you need to have a certain institutional setup which has a very focused mission based focus on road safety, in terms of have a mission mode, almost like a mission of space or something, where you are saying, look, I have 400 fatalities a day, and I'm going to reduce them to let's say 100 over the next 10 years. So you need to have a results focus, and then you need to have interventions that will support that results focus in terms of three major areas out of the 5 that I showed earlier. One is planning, design, operation, and use of roads. Then how do you control both users as well as vehicles in terms of their licensing and in terms of the roadworthiness of vehicles? And how do you then account for post-crash care? How do you have a good system of recovery and rehabilitation of victims? And these ultimately will deliver you results in terms of both outputs, in terms of better roads, in terms of better drivers, better vehicles, and in terms of outcomes, both intermediate, which means things like such as increasing your helmet wearing outcome, or increasing your number of people actually following the speed limit or wearing the seat belt, to your final outcomes of, okay, I can reduce my fatalities to, let's say, whatever target that I've actually set up. So this is the framework that we should be looking at, not and not just looking at things like, okay, I'm going to do X today and Y tomorrow. But it's good to put all of that in a framework which is data driven, based on the kind of fatalities that we're seeing in the country or in the state or in a city. So this framework is applicable to any kind of jurisdiction, and to actually achieve substantial outcomes. So rest of the presentation will actually dwell on how we are doing. And if you can see on the top right, I'll always be we'll always have a kind of a pointer on where we are in terms of what I'm discussing. So if we look at the road network in terms of where we stand on aspects such as road planning and design, vehicles and drivers. So on road planning and design, we have sound systems, we have very good engineers, we have more than 150 years of engineering experience. We have very good standards and guidelines which have been produced by IRC and NHI and others. But there is little to no capacity for incorporating safety in planning or prioritization of roadworks. For instance, to give a simple example, supposing there are two roads that are equally bad in terms of road condition, the road that has more fatalities should probably be taken up first for improvement. Whereas that kind of an input is not there currently in our road planning and prioritization of roadworks. So that should be the criteria guiding, how we prioritize, how we plan, on how we take up roadworks. But that is simply not there. That kind of connect between your road crash database and your road asset management systems, or your systems how which let you prioritize roads for improvement, that simply is not there. And highway standards are again completely a lot of them are for tailored for the safety of motorized transport, and very little is there for the safety of all road users. So we may need a highway safety manual like in the US, which incorporates all kinds of safety into all kinds of the 2-lane, the 4-lane, and the 6-lane highways. Similarly, for vehicles and drivers, there are stricter licensing procedures. There are several new vehicle standards and regulations. There are also now automated vehicle inspection centers in some states. But the enforcement of speeding and traffic fines is still very weak. Similarly, there is no periodic technical inspection of vehicles. In other countries, such as Australia and other countries, you need to inspect your vehicle at least once every year or once in 3 years, without which you will not your vehicle may be heavily fined, or it may be suspended in terms of being on the road. But we have a 15-year registration, and we have very weak, we don't have periodic technical inspection, which means there are a lot of vehicles which are not roadworthy and they're on the road. On recovery and rehabilitation, which is dealing with the post-crash care, we have a very good 108 system operational in India, and several public emergency services also there in several states. Emergency care centers are there in states like Tamil Nadu. But the recovery of victims is still hampered by lack of equipment, lack of protocol, delayed response, and very importantly, there is no provision for rehabilitation of victims in our country for long-term disability. So these are this is the scorecard in terms of the road network features, in terms of the entry and exit of vehicles, and in terms of post-crash care. So what are some of the good things that we can see in terms of institutional management functions? So the coordination aspect, there are national, state, and district road safety councils in place. Some state transport departments and cities, such as Chennai, has just started a road safety cell. State transport departments in Karnataka have a road safety cell. I think Kerala also has one. Several states now have road safety cells. Then motor vehicles, in terms of legislation, the MVAA is there. There are also independent road safety authorities in Gujarat and Kerala. In terms of resources, funds are available for road safety and post-crash equipment by the ministry. Several states also have set up dedicated road safety funds from which projects are allocated funds for road safety activities. Promotion is something that has been there, actually something that actually has been taken up seriously, but by every state and city, and even at the national level. Road safety weeks have been there, road safety months have been started from 2021. Several NGOs and corporates are involved in these kind of campaigns. Monitoring, the Supreme Court appointed committee on road safety has been doing some of this in every state in terms of looking at the number of fatalities that have been happening and the activities that states have been doing. And the integrated road accident database also has been set up. NHI also had set up a rating system for highways, which included road safety as a big aspect. The IRAD should be a game changer if it is fully implemented, and it will help devise data-driven strategies and policies in every state. Research also is being done by several, including NATPAC and other academic institutions. And several institutions are also now doing these certified road safety courses to become a road safety auditor. So lots of good things have happened. But there are some areas for improvement. Specifically, if you look at the coordination issue, road safety councils, they lack a mandate, they lack resources, they lack capacity. Several state and district levels are, do not even know how to make, targeted action plan or proposals in terms of what to do about safety in a systematic manner. Legislation, the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act is yet to be fully implemented in all the states. And in terms of having dedicated counterparts for the National Road Safety Board, very few states have dedicated agencies. Like I mentioned, Gujarat and Kerala have been pioneers in setting up road safety authorities, but other states are yet to follow. Recently, though, Rajasthan has become the first state to actually have a 10-year strategy and action plan, which is also very good. Resources, again, this is a constraint. Dedicated funds are not there for road safety improvements. There is no, and very importantly, even if the funds are there, the allocation of these funds for road safety projects is very, very weak. That there is no kind of accountability of, okay, I gave you X amount for road safety last year. What happened to those funds? How have you, actually looked at those districts or those jurisdictions? How have they done? Whether the fatalities have gone down, injuries have gone down, and what did they do? There is no mechanism to look at that and to kind of say, okay, now we can scale this up to the entire state, or we can have this as a best practice. There are bits and pieces, several states have done. I mean, there are several good success stories, especially if you take Kerala, Sabarimala, in terms of looking at that zone, in terms of reducing the fatalities and the kind of facilities that they've made. And cities such as Kolkata also have done well in terms of having a enforcement backed by campaigns. So there are islands of excellence, but nowhere is it in a very, very wide level. Promotion, as I said, these road safety weeks and months are mostly PR exercises. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? If you look at 1991 to 2021, I mean, we have more than, the fatalities have gone up more than 10 times. The road safety weeks, unless they're combined with enforcement, they are useless. Monitoring, I just mentioned earlier in terms of monitoring what is not happening. And research, again, taking some of the good practices and saying, look, can we scale this up? What are the good road safety measures? What are the equipment that we need to actually adapt and customize for Indian conditions? That kind of research is very much limited in India. And unless that happens and training happens in terms of new codes, in terms of new equipment, we are going to see very little in terms of, improvement in road safety. So given that, what are some of the good examples, and how do we go about having good practices in road planning and design? So before we do the design, there are several prerequisites that we need to be looking at. So what are some of the climate risks in the area that you're planning the road in? What are some of the proactively the safety risks? And this can be done through several methods, including, let us say, the International Road Assessment Program star rating mechanism of roads, which proactively gives you what is the risk on the road for different types of road users. And then the IRAP, if complemented with a road safety audit on at certain areas where there is high risk, that needs to go in. Then these need to be supplemented and complemented by crash data on those segments, along with, like I said, the crash data should be integrated with your road asset management system data. So all these will then result in what are the standards that I need to use, and those standards will go into my design. So unless we do road design and planning in such a systematic manner, we are going to be seeing, the same kinds of design and planning happening, which is it's a motorized vehicle mindset rather than a moving people kind of mindset on our highways, on our roads. So with that, let me quickly go to the two aspects that we as engineers can be looking at. What can engineers control among all the three big items in terms of the road environment? There are the road infrastructure, there are the users, and there are the vehicles. Out of these, I posit that the only thing we cannot control users, because user behavior is something that is very much driven by human whims and fancies. Vehicles, again, is not in the control of the engineers. I mean the engineers who are in the public works departments and who design our highways. So the only thing that we can focus on, that we can do well, is road infrastructure. So we should be designing our road infrastructure in such a way that the available behavior, that means the behavior that is available to the users, is actually the right behavior. With that, what I mean is, let us take a very simple example. I mean, this is a very basic example, but if you will see on several of our roads in the cities, that there is a little bit of when you put a speed breaker, there's a little bit of a gap between the speed breaker and the curb, for water to go through and all that. But then what happens is, most of the two-wheelers and some of the four-wheelers, they try to avoid the speed breaker by actually going, taking that little bit of gap. So the way to force users to actually do the right behavior. So the available behavior is what people are doing. It is available that I can actually not avoid the speed breaker. That is the available behavior. But if you want to make it the right behavior, that people actually go over your speed breaker, what you do is you extend the speed breaker all the way across and even into the drain area in your cross section. And that way, if somebody wants to avoid and they want to even avoid the road, they still cannot avoid the speed breaker. I mean, this is a very rudimentary example, but the point is to ensure that through design, you can actually force people to change their behavior. So that's what we should be trying in terms of controlling, in terms of controlling for people's behavior. And it has been shown that even in advanced countries such as, let us take, this is in Australia, by Australian Road Research Board, that they found that with just infrastructure design improvements. So the left portion of the graph shows you a normal designed road, and the right portion shows high safe system designed road. So you can see that your percentage reduction in fatalities goes from just 20% in normal design to 50% in a safe system design. So if just by infrastructure design improvements, you can control up to 50% of your fatalities. That is not in developing countries. This is actually even in the advanced countries, they found that this is an issue. So if you and of course, if you add enforcement, better enforcement, and better vehicles and better post crash care, you're going to actually improve that even further, maybe much higher, like other countries have done, such as Sweden and some of the Australia, New Zealand, how they've gone up to more than 50% reduction. So this is something doable. So we need to have good design to avoid things like this. This is a road, NH8 bypass, which is actually severed a local road near Jaipur. Look at the people who are trying to, the cyclists and the people who are crossing. This road has actually cut in half by NH8. And so because they don't have any access, they're actually forced to cross the road. And that is, I mean, a high speed NH8, you can imagine the kind of fatalities that are going to happen on this road. This is basically due to faulty design. So what is required from the roads perspective? From what I have seen, we need to have better standards to incorporate, and we need to update these standards to incorporate road safety requirements into the design of our highways and urban roads. We need to recategorize our road types in terms of link and place functions. How people are using the road in India is very much different from how they use it in US and how they use it in Australia. And we need to think about those and set safe speed limits on our roads. Similarly, in terms of we need to have uniform performance metrics and policies on road projects, and how do we actually measure performance of highways. It needs to incorporate a big safety component. We need to have a big time capacity building program. Right now, I can tell you that we need, for example, for a country like India, about 20,000 road safety auditors. We probably don't even have 500. I mean, even 500 is a stretch, I think, right now. So we need 20,000 road safety auditors for the kind of construction, for the kind of roads that we have. We have probably the second, or I think now the second largest road network in the world. We do not have the kind of people who can audit those roads and tell you what is wrong. In the medium term, we need to have these mandatory road safety audits at all stages. This is already now being done at the national level, but all states need to adopt this. Similarly, but the more important thing is the recommendations from these audits and inspections have to be actually implemented. And somebody has to actually go and say that, yes, these have been complied with. And that is simply not happening. Finally, we need to scale up our capacity building program. We need to have safe speed limits that are set in line with, as I said earlier, that are rational. Several places we see that the speed limits are just kept again using the, I mean, are set with using, I mean, based on the motorized vehicles and not on the other kinds of users that are there. Then the roads need to be prioritized in terms of improvements based on proactive risk assessments rather than being reactive. Right now, all we do is reactive. There's a fatality somewhere, a bus accident happens, immediately that place will get audited. Maybe something will happen for a few months, but then the rest of the network, the same thing is not done. So we need to be doing this on a grand scale, on an emergency scale, to stop the kind of fatalities that we see on our roads today. And we need to have good tools for risk assessments, which are integrated into our road asset management systems. In terms of road safety management, what is happening is, I think in like maybe some things have I've skipped, so I'll go back. Sorry about that. So we looked at some good examples. Okay. Somehow this is not working very well, but okay. So after this, we went to the end. Sorry. So here, the design of roads I was talking about, to avoid this kind of design, or look at this kind of design. This NH44 in Telangana state, this is called as the highway of death. This road, you can see this small village path, meeting this road from the left, and this village has lost all its 37 male occupants because of hit and run crashes while they were crossing to reach the village administration on the other side. So the village, residences are on one side and the administration on the other side. So when they were, and there is one there's one widower, because his wife walked across and she got killed while crossing this road. So this is, I mean, this is the kind of design that that is, that we should not be doing. We should be, providing for, pedestrian underpasses, ways for people to cross to the other side. I mean, think about basic things when we are building our highways, rather than just thinking about the intercity traffic, or the, looking at the, basically from end to end. We have to be looking at what communities are affected, what villages are affected, and this is not happening in a very comprehensive manner in this in our country right now. Some good examples are, these are some from some of our World Bank projects in Karnataka. Uh, so you can see that again, it's a very simple 2-lane highway, but traffic calming has been given at major junctions. Better delineation is there. There are better pedestrian and bus facilities. There are better truck parking facilities. So all these need to be thought about when the roads are being designed and implemented. This has reduced crashes by more than 50% on this highway in Karnataka between 2015 and 2018. So this is a success story. Similarly, Kerala, on the Kerala State Transport Project, several innovations have happened, and you can see, for the first time, the zigzag kind of marking, which is to basically alert users and drivers that you are entering an area where there are a lot of crossings happening. And also very interesting, on the top left you will see the marking on the road, which is going from slow to stop, and this is actually taken from AASHTO, and it is not IRC standard, but they've gone beyond, and they've actually implemented something from AASHTO, which is very good to see. So and this is another point I wanted to make, that what is happening is our IRC guidelines and codes are taken as as the gospel, as as something that we cannot go beyond, but that is untrue. That is not correct. What the IRC code says, these are the minimum that should be done. You can always go beyond the codes if something is better done in some other, like an Australian code, or a US AASHTO or the UK code. Then we should be adapting and taking those like Kerala has done. So this is really good to see on some of our projects. Tamil Nadu again has done a very good job on some of the highways. You can see very good bus stops with even access for wheelchair users. You can see very interestingly, in Tamil Nadu, the contractor, it was in the contract to not just do whenever they did the highway, they also had to do up to 100 meters of the minor road, the improvement in terms of safety, in terms of all the features. So you can see that in the third photograph on the bottom. So and safety at major junctions, you can see some of this. Again, this is more pictures from Tamil Nadu in terms of proper safety treatment at highway sections in built-up areas. Again, some raised pavement markers, center and edge lines, very interestingly, hazard markers, chevron signs. But this edge markers, I think, is something that is very rarely seen on some of our roads, and I think we need to be looking at that in terms of having an audible alert for drivers, so that when they are too close to the edge, especially let's say on hilly roads, or in Kerala where there are mostly 2-lane highways. We need to be looking at some of this. Here, protection of any kind of hazard, any kind of feature, road safety feature, whether it's a signal, it is a signpost, or anything, it has to be protected from the road by crash barrier. It should be behind the crash barrier. So very, very well done here. Again, in Tamil Nadu. Punjab, one of the best things that we've seen, and this is quite old, but what they started very early was a consistent application of standard layouts and treatments, which is very important if you're a driver on a road, and because you don't want to see any surprises. So already the driving is a very tough proposition on our roads, and with that you don't want to see different kind of layouts and different treatments. So you can see rumble strips, you can see, and one of the things that I would say is look at our speed breakers. I think we are not consistently applying these speed breakers, and that is why a lot of communities are against them. So, but if you actually look at the IRC code, there are very good guidelines given on what type of speed, what should be the height of the speed breaker, what should be the geometric features. Everything is being given. What should be the slope, but we are not doing those according to the guidelines, and so no community wants to see speed breakers, with the result that you're actually exposing a lot of the non-motorized and pedestrians to high speeds and high risks. So then finally, I wanted to come to, very importantly, like I said, work zone safety, which is very close to my heart, because this is something that there is purely negligence. 4,000 fatalities happening in our country only because of work zone safety. This is unacceptable, and we need to be looking at this. And this is completely in the control of the highway agencies, because they can pull up the contractor, they can pull up the authority engineer, and actually impose penalties on when some of this stuff is not happening. So what is happening on work zone safety? The compliance to the codes is there only in letter and not in spirit. I have seen several roads under construction in my experience in India, and very few warnings of advance warning of road closures. What is the length of road under construction? What is the alternate route to a road? Signage is completely inconsistent, not as per standard, confusing the road user. The advanced warning signs at most places are just placed right before some work that is happening. I mean, you need to be giving, and I can show you some examples of how this is done, even in India, in some places where they're trying to do this, which is very, very nice. But 95% of the time, this is not being done. Hard crash barriers are missing, and this is actually, this is basic. You don't need to be a civil engineer to know that you need to put hard crash barriers on several valley side sections of roads, and this is causing a lot of fatalities on our hill roads. And then in terms of actual contract management, and it's not happening at all. The traffic management plans for the most part are just exercises and they're just sitting on the shelf. Nobody is following them. Um, there is no assessment of the severity or risk of incidents or crashes while work is happening. Uh, the traffic management is very poor in work zones. And finally, the reason for all this is the contractual provisions are not being used to ensure that the safety features that are in the traffic management plans are complied with as per the codes, and the works are being done and complied with. So this is actually the reason why we are having. And I can show you some of the pictures. You see, this is what on the left you can see what is the standards, on the right what is practice, and the sign is placed just before the hazard. This is the case everywhere. Um Next, you see the kind of barricade that we need to have, and the kind of barricade that we are having. And with poor signage, this is placed on somebody falling. I mean, look, imagine you're going in the night and suddenly you come across this. You're going to, it's going to be a incident right there. Similarly, in terms of again barricades, we all use some kind of jugaad material, waste material used for barricading. But what is actually recommended is there very clearly in IRC. Again, no signage or demarcation of of what is happening in terms of work zone, and debris on the road, construction debris, which is going to actually make your vehicle skid, and and then look at the protection on the valley side. So again, water filled barricades, it's given in IRC code. No hard barriers, like I said. um, this kind of a traffic management plan is given in the IRC for works which are happening in the center of the carriageway, and look at what is happening on the right in terms of actual practice. So what is required is you need to be looking at the risk in terms of what is the frequency of a crash that is happening, and what is the severity of that crash. So unless you look at these two and then proactively have a traffic management plan, you will not be able to control some of these and have the right features to have some of the work zone elements in place. So if when we look at these, for instance, the way if we apply that framework, uh, so sign in front of the crash barrier. So this is a hazard. So you need to be looking at how do we control it, and if there is no space, you need to either mark that with retroreflective tape. I think in some of the hilly roads might be a problem, or then try to even have it on in a slant manner on the other side, not exactly. So you need to be looking at ways to kind of not have any kind of roadside hazards. So all the best practice is to place the sign behind the crash barrier wherever possible. Similarly, reflectors, again, same issue. Reflectors, these can actually be placed mounted on top of the spacer in several countries. In fact, on the outer ring road in Hyderabad, they're doing this wherever there's no space. So I think we need to be looking at those rather than, because this is a hazard. When if it is struck, then it may actually cause injury. And the other thing is to also have these, you can see these white, edge markings. Those are also really good to have, because then they will actually alert the driver. And there are several gaps sometimes in crash barrier to allow access. Now, the thing is to not restrict access, but then you can have something like in the right. You can have these crash barriers overlapping so that you still allow access to that site, but then it will prevent vehicles from going off the road into that roadside feature. So that's what we need to be doing, looking at the risk and what is the severity. If you look at those two aspects and try to devise. Similarly, several roads in Himachal and some of the northeast areas, look at the risk problem. I mean, look at this. Your tape is not going to. Is the tape going to stop a vehicle from falling over? No. So extreme risk probability and extreme severity in case there is a crash. So you need to have water-filled barriers along the valley side to prevent such crashes from happening. Similarly, sometimes this is just wrong type of placement of chevron signs, but it could confuse users. So you need to be careful about that. Similarly, debris left on the road after or on the side after construction. I mean, you need to make sure that those are not going to fall and become risks for the road users. So some of the practices, so if you look at this is actually, I think the Central Artery Tunnel project when they were doing in Boston, this is way back, I think maybe 25 to 30 years back, but look at the type of, they have signals, they have drums. I mean, it looks very confusing, but actually with the placement of the drums and everything, you can see that, it's not, it's very clearly demarcated in terms of what is the work zone and where people need to travel. Similarly, look at the kind of demarcation in one of the states in Colorado. You see, the speed limit sign comes first, and then you need to say that there is going to be a, it's going to have an arrow. The road is going to become, one lane is going to get closed, and then you need to move. So there is actually a transition that you need to follow. Look at the kind of demarcation that is used in terms of speed limit, signage, and diversion here. Similarly, in terms of looking at how many times they're telling you, look, road construction is happening 1 mile ahead, half a mile ahead, 1,000 feet ahead. So this is the only area where you need to have more signage than less in terms of work zones. You need to actually inform the users, even if they miss one time, that the second time, okay, look, I'm going into a road construction zone, so I need to be careful. And this is, some of this is actually happening in our metro rail construction projects. They're actually doing a good job. You can see the DMRC, the vehicle, which is actually protecting the users who are working and putting up the barricades. So somebody, if they miss, they will hit this vehicle, but then they're protected, somewhat protected still, and it actually is telling them to go slow and move away from the vehicle from that side. And in inclement weather, again, you can have these kind of vehicles mounted, which are portable, which tell you where you need to. And these are, things that we should be using in our in the north, in the foggy areas when you're having construction, and in winters as well as in the nights. So some good features we observed on some of the roads. So I saw the sign in one of the highways. I think I either again looks like Himachal, or I think one of the roads in AP. I think near Araku. Diversion ahead sign, and then good demarcation using traffic cones on the right. Similarly, look at this. This is still good, use of signage on NH 707 in HP, and saying that the speed limit is 20. Then again, this is good demarcation on again NH 707. So these are some good examples. So I already talked about what is required in terms of roads. So in terms of road safety management, I mentioned earlier, 20,000 road safety auditors are required, hardly 500 available. There's limited research and training. All this we talked about. Again, the thing is, we have very good technical capacity. Our engineers are excellent. I mean, we don't need to teach engineering or civil engineering or transportation engineering, but we need to sensitize them to the fact that the roads are all for all road users, and we need to ensure that people are going to actually provide those kind of facilities for all kinds of road users, not just highway road users, not just vehicles and heavy vehicles and motorized vehicles. So I don't think I need to go into most of this we have talked about. So some of the one of the reasons we need to have better provisions is because the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act now actually has an accountability framework. Any entity, whether it's a road agency or a concessionaire or a designer, design consultant or authority engineer, whoever is building is involved in building a road, construction, maintenance, or operation, if it is determined that a fatality or something happened because of some kind of flaw on their part, then there are provisions to hold them accountable, which was never there earlier. Now this has been brought into the act. Similarly, there is a lot of use of the act actually says electronic enforcement is actually now permitted, and it should be done, especially on all roads, including in urban areas. So there is a mandate now to use ITS, and we should be using that more and more, especially for enforcement. I don't need to talk about codes. We talked about this earlier. Road asset management systems. I'm a big proponent of combining these with road crash data systems for prioritizing and identifying which roads to be picked up for improvements. And finally, we need to be looking at embedding safety into contracts with strict penalties for non-compliance within a time-bound manner, and independent road safety audits of all designs. So from a management perspective, I think it's very good to have fully empowered, dedicated agencies like the Gujrosa or the KRSA for road safety, all aspects of road safety management in that particular jurisdiction. And I think you need to have very good high-level committees. And like Tamil Nadu has had very good road safety executive leadership groups, which actually monitored road safety in the state, and they have done a superb job. So another thing that they've done is earmark a portion of all construction contracts. Their core road improvement development program. I think 2% they allocate for road safety and incident management. I think that's something also to take a leaf out of. Then road safety action plans, and as I said, very few states have good road safety action plans. Rajasthan has recently started a very good one, but these need to be very simple documents. And so just to give you a flavor of what they should have, the road safety action plan for Chennai, which they adopted last year, it has these 8, kind of features. Their main outcomes are 50% reduction in fatalities by 2030 and 25% by 2026. And then supporting those, they actually went into, okay, what do I need to do? My roads should be at least 3-star for all road users. I'm going to have 50% reduction in the vehicles exceeding my posted speed limits. I'm going to have 100% of motorcycle riders wearing correctly using helmets, wearing helmets. I'm going to have 100% adult and child vehicle occupants using seat belts, 50% reduction in drivers, who are, driving drunk, and 25% reduction in time to first person. So it is a 20-page document. It doesn't need to be a big document. It only needs to set, what is my vision, what are my goals, and what are my broad level actions that I'm going to do and outputs that I need. And the details can come later in terms of projects and interventions and all that. But you need to have a very crisp action plan that you can then actually detail out using lots of data from your road crash databases and whatnot. So again, in the medium term, centers of excellence, I think there are lots of institutes doing a lot of different things. We need to establish maybe at least one center of excellence in each state, which is going to delve into this research and training on road safety. Then, as I said, IRAD has to be used to devise road safety strategies and programs. It needs to be data driven. All the Chennai Road Safety Action Plan is completely data driven. They looked at the crash data, they completely analyzed it, and they took their own data, not from the IRAD, but they took it from their road accident database management system. They took that, they completely thoroughly dissected it in various ways, and then came out with what do they need to do. And that's how they said, look, I need to have motorcycle compliance, I need to have speed compliance. These are two things that they said we need to do, and the police is actually now trying to do that. And long term, we need to be looking at some kind of monitoring to say, okay, how do you ensure that your targets that you envisage are actually being achieved, and that your projects that you are actually doing are supporting your 2030 action plan. And of course, road safety management has to continue over a period of time. I already showed you this. So I don't want to delve too much on this because my talk was more about engineering and management, but because road safety environment also needs users, I thought I would give you a little bit of suggestions on what should be done. So in terms of users, the only way it works is, like I said, one is infrastructure that makes people do the right behavior, and second is if people are continuing to flout that, then you need to have effective and proactive road policing programs along with these campaigns. The campaigns by themselves will not work. The policing, the enforcement along with campaigns will work, and this has been shown to be the case in several countries. And we need to establish good policies on digital enforcement and, very importantly, crash investigation. We have no capacity in crash investigation. Very few, I think there's 1 or 2 firms in the whole country which do crash investigation. And we need to establish policies on how do I set my speed limits. For the most part in our country, the speed very haphazardly without any thought of link or place function, like I mentioned earlier. And unless you set the speed limits properly, people are not going to comply. And if people do not comply, then you're going to have issues of crashes. Similarly, speed management measures we need, like I said, in all the million-plus cities. We need to implement more of digital systems for on-road, issue of penalties, and safe system speed limits. Again, so these are things that we need to be doing in all short, medium, and long term. Finally, we need to have a good system of accreditation for driver training schools as well. Vehicles and drivers, I will not again go through this, just to say that we need to have this periodic system of technical inspection, and we need to have modern automated vehicle inspection centers which can automate the certification of fitness of vehicles. So that's and finally on post crash care, I think some of this has already been done. Cashless treatment of crash victims is happening in several states, and the ministry also is seized of it. There's some Good Samaritan law is also there, and I think is being implemented in all the states now, in several states now. So I think one thing that we need to be doing is we need to have fully equipped and staffed trauma care centers in all cities with population more than 1 million, and this I think Tamil Nadu has done well with their accident and emergency care initiative TAEI, and they've actually established along with the private sector, they've established several on some of their highways, and this has actually led to a lot of reduction of fatalities in that state. And again, last thing that I would focus on is, in the long term, we need to be looking at not just rescuing them and then putting them in medical care, but what happens if there's a long-term disability? We need to be looking at long-term disability because most of these people, get thrown into poverty, and that's we need to be looking at how do we, not push some of the crash victims into poverty as well. But that's more in the long term. One immediately thing that can be done is link all the police, hospital, and insurance crash data. The provision is there now in IRAD, but the proof will be in the pudding. Unless it is linked, you need to triangulate the data to have good crash data. Unless you have good crash data from several sources, you are not. We will not be able to actually pinpoint what the actual problem is, and we'll end up spending money on areas where we should not be spending money on. So finally, this is my final slide, some final thoughts. So like I said, our road interventions from an engineering perspective, we need to be considering the needs of all road users, that not just the motorized users. So we need to be looking at a systematic, proactive safety assessment of roads. And Karnataka recently have done a 18,000, I think, kilometers of IRAP assessment. And I think that's a good sign. We need to be looking at similar kinds of proactive assessments so that we identify risks to all users and then go about identifying what should I do. Then road safety audits, apply these during road design, and also actually consistently apply and implement both during design as well as during the construction stage. Then rather than going for road by road, I think a good thing would be to transition to road network kind of level assessments. So that that way you improve a whole area, and that way that will be good to scale up from let's say from a small town. Then you can go to a small district and then scale it up to a city, and then that can be scaled up to a state, and finally that state example can be looked at for the entire country. Um, Contract management, we need to be looking at strict time limits, and AEs and everybody instructed that they need to, this should be first embedded into the contract, and then there needs to be strict time limits which should be actually enforced by the independent engineer, authority engineer, and the agency to suspend either work or payments if they threaten safety of users or for non-compliance of recommendations given by road safety audit agencies. Finally, this is the most important part. All those things can be taken from an engineering perspective, but unless you have good, effective institutional arrangements in terms of good, well-equipped, independent agencies or high-level committees which can look at road safety in each state and each city and each district level, so that they actually have, they can manage and coordinate all the activities across the different agencies for road safety. And then the other thing is to have good road safety toolkits for road safety management by all states. This is actually also missing. What do they need to do in terms of how do they coordinate? And several states now have appointed project management consultants to help them. Transport departments, I know, especially for several states, they have hired PMCs to actually help them with road safety, which is good. But then they need to build their own in-house capacity at some point. Consultants will come and go. It's not their for them it's not something that they're not going to be held accountable after 4 years, right? But the agency will be held accountable whether you are there, because you're going to be there. The transport departments will be held accountable, not the consultants. The Supreme Court committee is at the end of the day going to ask the government, state government departments, and they're going to pull up the state government department. So we need to build capacity at the state and district and the city levels. Road safety action plans, I gave Chennai example. Rajasthan is a good example as well. And the other thing is to have these road safety courses, continuously, whether during staff orientation, the induction programs. We need to be looking at safety on a priority basis. At every kind of workshop, you need to have a session on safety, because this is how we are going to instill. It's almost kind of like how the advertising agencies go about it. You need to embed safety so much into the engineer's psyche, the policeman's psyche, and the hospital psyche, that they're going to say, look, I need to be thinking about road safety and what I can do to actually improve it. Finally, private sector, not everything can be done by government. We need money. It's a big constraint. So centers of excellence, I think several, I think private sector has actually come forward in some cases. Mumbai-Pune Expressway is a good example. Mahindra teamed up with the Save Life Foundation to do this, and they've reduced fatalities by over 50% through combination of engineering and other measures. They can take up pilot projects. They can help with post-crash care. Wayside amenities would be bread and butter of transportation. Big transporters and trucking firms, and of course training. So these are some of the things, I think, my final thoughts, and I'll stop there. I think I'm over time. Finally, I think road safety, we need to think about it as everyone's responsibility, from the user to the highway agencies to everybody in society. Unless we take it up, and see something, we actually voice our opinion. If we see something wrong in the right areas, we will not be able to solve this problem where we are killing more than 400 people a day. Thank you, and again, I thank NATPAC for giving me this opportunity, and hope this is useful for some of the policymakers and others on this talk. Thank you.
Very informative. Thank you, sir, for your excellent and very informative speech. The session is now open for queries. I have one question regarding the road safety action plan that is adopted in Rajasthan. So, what are the goals that set for 10 years, and what are the best initiatives that is going to adopt in Rajasthan?
Yeah, so I think the Chief Minister just announced it the other day. I think they are also having a goal of, I think, 10-year plan they have starting from 2023. So they're going to have, I think, 50% reduction by 2033. And I think probably by 2028, maybe about a 25% reduction. I think I'm not 100% sure, but by 2033, they want a 50% reduction. And they're focusing on three phases of improvements for their highways, and several aspects as well, not just the highways, but as you know, most of our, as I said earlier, 50% of our of the fatalities can be actually reduced if your infrastructure is improved. So of course, a lot of emphasis is on improving safety on their highways. Also because 56% of our fatalities are happening there. But I think they have plans to, so it's a program that has just been announced, but I think they have, they are going to improve highways as well as, post-crash care and some of the policing as well. So these three aspects are what they're going to focus on.
So then we have actually have the cashless treatment for accident victims. that any initiatives that done by state governments or central government in India?
Yes, yes. Tamil Nadu has done one, and Andhra has a similar scheme, and I think if I'm not mistaken, in Delhi also they have a scheme where you can go to any hospital. So even I thought Kerala had done something similar, but maybe I'm mistaken. But Tamil Nadu definitely has this scheme, and I think maybe even Karnataka. So what happens is, initially up to a certain, I think in Tamil Nadu, up to 50,000 rupees is given, directly as soon as the victim is in the hospital. So that is, and then if it is higher than that, then there's a different scheme. But up to 50,000 for the injured is immediately cashless. Of treatment is immediately done. So that is there, and several states are doing that now. So I think I can give you more examples, concrete examples through email. But
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
So there is one question in the chat box by Mr. Tony. Are the transport markings making a difference in terms of speed reduction in the case of cars, buses, and trucks? Is there any evaluation available from Kerala SCDP?
So, I mean, no, we don't have data specifically on the transverse bar markings. So yes, I mean, I can understand where Tony is coming from in this question. Actually, it won't stop the heavy vehicles. It won't really affect the heavy vehicles that much, these rumble strips and transverse bar markings. But yes, it is going to give some kind of an alert. I don't think the speed reduction will be much. So for these vehicles on these highways, so that's a good question. So we don't know what to how there is no data as such that has been collected before after, just to that we can attribute to these rumble strips. So
this is
yeah.
Sorry, this is DB Srinivasan, DMTS Delhi. Regarding this TBM, I'm about to ask same question, but recently I interacted with some institutes, research institutes on exactly effectiveness of TBMs, because lot of money the road agencies are putting in marking these TBMs as per the IRC code and maybe like that. What the new, probably we may get a new code maybe soon. That's the what I came to know, that cut stones, maybe especially for the urban, probably to start with cut stone, that patch with whatever dimensions have been proposed, cut stone finishing on the roads, so that it will be lot durable and simultaneously provides the alertness that is required for a driver and a bit slows down the all type of vehicles. Is a one thing I think I came to know that final touch-ups are happening on this. Probably that is one kind of solution. Otherwise, yes, this is a really a good question that TBMs before, after, really it is serving the intended purpose or not for heavy vehicles, whether they're failing or not. We try to, because as a part of Supreme Court committee, we have audited around 20 states and a lot of roads on a pilot we have done it. This is the biggest question that is lingering. So I think one of the hot topic, finally.
Yeah, thank you, DB. I think that's a good. I think that's a good suggestion. Actually, I've seen similar one, not as a transverse thing, but at several junctions in Nepal, in the city of Kathmandu. I've seen what they've done is they have put this broken thing so that one. In fact, actually, it is put in the median, so that the two-wheelers will not then take that to make a U where there is a zebra crossing. So so it's a very interesting I think concept, and then I think it will make drivers more alert. So that's a, I think, good way to think about it. Thank you.
And also regarding work zone safety, the points highlighted by is very valid. Even in Delhi, city like Delhi, example, one elevated Sharanpur, Delhi Sharanpur elevated highway was being constructed, and in the core areas like Gandhinagar market and this thing. That is a everyday route to me also. Irrespective of one is that advanced warning and all these things that is anyway lacking. Even they are welding, that is structure is a little bit steel structure something. They're welding on the top and the entire sparkles are falling on the traffic. Nobody is controlling. Traffic is going, no warning. Suddenly those sparkles are falling on the windshield of a vehicle and spoil. This is even nobody is bothering it. They don't care at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I have experienced that as well. So I think we need to think about all these issues. I mean, this is the issue comes from being reactive. I think unless we are proactive and unless there is an accountability mechanism where that contractor or that consultant, that supervision engineer, the supervising consultant, everybody is pulled up, the authority engineer. So unless that kind of accountability is there, you will not see this happening. If you go to the US, if something like this happens, I mean, all those people will be in the dock, and so and they will not be. They'll be in litigation for the next 20 years, and not just them, even their generation, next generation after, also maybe are in litigation. So that is why that is why you don't have that kind of a those kinds of things happening, because it's very, very seriously taken. Whereas
I
here
think in India, I think we need to start putting some kind of litigations, and we are highlighting that some, if even though there might be no deaths or something might be happened, but I think when they're not following certain things in occupational safety, I think there should be a mechanism to put a PIL or some kind of thing, so that at least the authorities may fear or a contractor may fear of PILs.
Sir, this is Anish. That's a good presentation, sir. I just had a few points to be made. Sir, one of the issues that we face is that the lack of coordination between various departments. So if you see that a particular road is being constructed, they construct or their jurisdiction is only restricted to their area. And if it comes to the joining of at an intersection, if there is two or more road owning agencies, there is no coordination between them. So how do you take this up on a large scale? Because wherever you have national highways in Kerala, or for that matter in other parts of India as well, you might have other roads also coming in. So the access at the points of access or the intersections with other road owning agencies, there should be some mechanism so that the road safety is not compromised from the main road to the side road. So how do we ensure that? Do we have any good practices?
This is a very good question, and I don't have a very good answer to it. But what happens is, on some of these places where you have let's say NHI owns the major road, and then there is a state highway joining it, and you need to improve the intersection. I think it's more of a, sometimes this NHI says we'll take care of it. Sometimes it is left to the state, but then things fall on the wayside. So I think one of the things is to actually, we need to have a reclassification of all our roads. If you look at countries such as New Zealand or Australia, they, especially New Zealand, they have, one definition of a, let's say, if it's a national highway, it's a national highway throughout. And it doesn't become a arterial when it comes into the city limits, or, so they have one definition of a road based on its function and based on its, what is the kind of land use it is going through. It is going to have one particular function. So we need to be looking at that, but that is a bigger exercise. So in terms of road safety, if you're looking at coordination, we need to have either, you need to have agencies which have overall, which can direct any agency. For instance, Gujrosa, if they take up suo moto, there's an accident happening on any, even if it's a private road, they can pull up that private entity and actually direct them to rectify within a certain period of time. If they do not do that, they will be fined. So they have that kind of a power, and they're actually using it. So this is the kind of thing we need to have. Either independent road safety authorities which are actually backed by a legislative mandate, but that's going to take some time. Or you need to have high level road safety executive leadership groups or committees which can actually do the same function, which are actually backed by the government, saying, look, this is what this highest level committee has the jurisdiction, and they actually will help coordinate. So I mean, those are the only ways to do it. So this is the real issue is coordination. You are right. The real issue is coordination. Even we are seeing on several projects where we do not have coordination between various jurisdictions own various parts of the road, especially in the city areas. So you need to, and that is actually detrimental to safety. So one thing is to also look at things where you need to you have a unified mass transport authority, like in Chennai they've tried with Kumta. So they have some there may be some way to actually say, look, they will deal to all the aspects of road safety or all the aspects of coordination within the uh, city level. So unless you have those kinds of mechanisms which have uh, full levels of mandate, and they can actually direct agencies, again this is going to be an issue. The coordination I see is the biggest issue. And the other thing is our department of in the other countries, what happens is there is one department of transportation. It's not like you have highway is different, then you have somebody is doing urban transport as a different agency. And so you know, so in for instance in the US you have a department of transportation which looks at various, and then you have sub departments which look at, somebody looks at highways, somebody looks at urban, but then they're all part of the same department, so it's very easy to coordinate. Whereas here you have, each one is almost like their own entity, so it's much more difficult to coordinate. So in a way that also is an issue. But I think from within our existing structures you still can do a lot if you have in Tamil Nadu, I hear that they look at road safety every week. The DGP is looking at my road safety fatalities. Which district is the highest, and they're actually monitoring it. So you need to have that. If you have that level of high level of monitoring happening of accidents and fatalities, then things are going to move. So they are now really doing a lot in terms of policing, using all kinds of digital equipment. And so I think you need to have a high level of commitment at the highest levels, that yes, I am going to, this is an issue. Not just, and every city I know is only looking at congestion. How do I make my city congestion free? But they're not looking at safety aspects at all. And the thing is, if you actually have good facilities for road users, for the footpaths, good footpaths, then your pedestrians are going to actually go on the footpath. They're not going to come on the road. That's going to reduce your congestion. Your cyclists, if they have their own paths, or if they are, they have, facilities on the road, even if it is slightly demarcated, they're not going to come out of the road. So you need to be thinking about, how do I make sure that I need good facilities for all my road users, and that itself is going to solve your congestion problem. Whereas our people are going about it the opposite way, where they're thinking, oh, look, I need to be, my motorized traffic should not have any traffic congestion. You're not going to solve that problem unless you solve other issues. You need to have good public transport systems where you can take, take a lot of people off the road, and that is also good for safety. So why are people buying motorcycles? Because they don't have good public transport systems. They don't have good last mile connectivity. So that's why you see our two-wheeler, this thing has jumped, I think, more than 161%, in the last few years. 10 years, I think it's more than 161% in terms of growth. So your people are buying motorcycles because they don't have good public transport systems in the cities. And even from the villages, you see every village now there will be people having motorcycles. And that is actually also bad, because those motorcyclists are actually going on your inter-urban highways, and those are, you cannot stop them from using the national highway, right? So especially, let's say, in an urban condition like Kerala, everybody is using a motorcycle, and then they're getting into contact with the heavier vehicles which are using the same road. So unless we think about one of the things to think about also is, let's say, motorcycle lanes. Malaysia also has similar problem. Vietnam has similar problem. 80% of their fleet is motorcyclists. Our 80% of our fleet is motorcyclists. Whereas we are not building dedicated motorcycle lanes. Malaysia has these, Vietnam has these, and they're doing well. Actually, they have, they've segregated roads. They have segregated even on freeways. They have exclusive freeways only for motorcycles. So we need to be thinking about, okay, I need to provide for them, because. So I'll stop there. But
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, sir. Hello. Just first of all, it's a very comprehensive, given the short time, very comprehensive presentation. Just want to extend on the authorities and stakeholders. You rightly said the DOT, there is one Department of Transportation wherever you go in the Western countries. I should say developed nations. Along with it, here, the problem is the traffic engineering as such as a department getting into design, taking ownership. Here, DOT or the RTO or even traffic police are sometimes getting into designs independently. And then instead of being just after these violations and taking care of the enforcement, they're getting into the design. So there is an overlap. I think that should be streamlined and kind of given one responsibility, one sole responsible stakeholder being there, that will take care of some of these problems.
I agree completely with you, sir. That's a very good observation. Police should not be getting into traffic engineering and traffic. They should be getting into traffic safety, but not traffic engineering. So traffic engineering is a subject that should be done by engineers, and they should be informing the police. So what is happening is, let's say, this is the issue with speeds. So our designs, our highways for the most part are designed for 80 kilometers per hour. And then what do? They post the speed limit as 80. I mean, that's incorrect. So your speed limits should be a function of, okay, what is happening on the road. I can design my highway for 100 kilometers per hour, but that doesn't mean my speed limit should be 100 kilometers per hour. So we have confused our design speeds with our posted speed limit, which is wrong. So you need to be, the posted speed limit should be looked at based on what is my function of the road, how communities are using my road, what is it passing through, what is the land use, several factors. And based on that, I need to set rational speed limits. And then you can expect users to actually follow those speed limits. But if you don't do that, and if you just simply put some speed limit, and that is what is happening. So, and for the most part, right, nobody follows speed limits in our country because they think it's, that's a different issue, but also because we are not putting the right speed limits. So unless you have those speed limits and those are monitored correctly, you are, and that needs a lot of traffic engineering, especially in the cities. But you're right, it's a lot of it is being done by police, and the police is doing it because city level agencies do not have the capacity. They don't have traffic engineers who are qualified enough to make those, analysis. So I think, and even this I'm talking about even in biggest cities, our biggest metros don't have such departments who are doing I mean, I may be wrong, but I think I'm pretty sure that even Delhi, Mumbai I know because I worked with Mumbai for some time, and they don't have such people. And for the lack of such people, then police is taking it in their own hands, and then which is not their job. So they should not be doing that, which is not their core competence. But yes, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thank you. One more, sir. One more observation. Just I have typed it in the chat. What is happening with these IFIs funding a lot of projects? We have installations being done, improvements being done, maybe for 2 years, 3 years, and then O&M maybe another 2-3 years. But in the long term, 5 to 10 years, that maintenance is falling apart. It's poor. So what we have examples of these success stories are just limited to 2 or 3 years during the implementation, or just a little bit of maintenance. 5 to 10 years of success stories with reduction, really showing reduction in accidents where the roads are being taken care of fully, continuing the same improvements. those are the ones probably we need to compile and we need to get them on board so that others can emulate and have the same success in the long
No,
term.
I agree completely. Maintenance is completely neglected in our country. It's not just on roads. In everything you can see, maintenance is something that is neglected, and everybody is interested in building new roads, but nobody is interested in maintenance. And that's why you see, I have seen horrible, national highways between. In fact, I traveled one time between Mumbai and Kolkata, and the state of the highway was absolutely horrendous. The kind of potholes. In fact, I saw 5 or 6 major truck fatalities on that highway. This I'm talking about, 5, 6 years back, and I am sure it's not improved that much even after that. And these were single lane, but if just they had maintained, I am very sure that these have not been maintained. If just the maintenance had been done, you wouldn't have seen such potholes on that road, and you wouldn't have seen those fatalities. But absolutely right. I think so the long term solutions will come if we do all these things. You need to have good agency at the highest level which can look at what is the maintenance of some of these road safety features that have been installed. Then second is you need to have money, you need to have monitoring mechanism, you need to have data to actually say, look, what is happening. So, everybody looks at a good success story, and then, I don't know, they fall back on their laurels, and I don't know how some of these highways are, even Belgaum Yaragatti, you're right. I don't know. That was 2015 to 2018. So now, if I don't know what is happening on that road. But yes, we need to be continuously looking at so it's like I think Supreme Court said it right. The committee, they were saying this, we need to be looking at it as a national emergency. Road safety in our country is a national emergency. 150,000 people dying. I mean, you won't even find that many people getting killed in a war. So it's just mammoth proportion. I mean, think about it. If you have a flight, if you have an air crash happening one day, there'll be 10,000 articles written next day about it. And it's only in a air crash. Let's say 400 people are getting killed one day, maybe once a year, once in 2 years, once in 10 years. And then there'll be a lot of committees, a lot of things appointed. But this is happening every day. You're having an air crash every day. So yes, I think maintenance, you're right. You put the finger on it. We need to look at as much money for maintenance as for what we are doing, putting in for capital intensive infrastructure. We are building so many things, but then if you don't maintain them, then obviously they're going to degrade over time. And the other thing that I didn't touch upon a little bit, see, the reason for also these roads getting worse, overloading is a big issue. And this overloading has to be tackled using digital means, using all kinds of enforcement measures. Because what is happening is these. I give you an example. If for instance now, if somebody is overloading their truck and then going across a toll road, the toll operator will take extra charge for the weight, but they are allowed to still go on the road. So they will not. I mean, it's not that they have to offload that extra weight and then they have they are let off. So the truck is let through the toll. So I mean, even though you're charging extra, whatever, what you're doing is you're actually putting more weight on your road, and that's going to degrade over a period of time. And now imagine the same thing that is happening for non-tolled roads, non-tolled highways, and so you're going to have this problem. So your maintenance is going to budget is going to go through the roof for some of those issues as well. So yes, there are multiple issues, but yes, that's a good point. Maintenance also needs to be really thought about.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the
Sir,
insights.
regarding the maintenance,
Yeah.
sir, regarding the maintenance, I accept your observations on that. But what is happening, sir? Once road is constructed, within 2 to 3 years, urban development is happening. What happened? Whatever the drainage facilities we have made, that everything they are closing. At the same time, whatever the cross drainages, they are also they're filling it. So during the rainy season, there is no way to for water to escape from the road. So because of that, only whatever the potholes are happening and everything, there is happening. So that is one part. Second one is regarding the overload, what you have told. Even though government has given the circular that you have to collect the 10 times of the overload, they are having some combinations. Where for 10%, you have to take 1 time, 2 time, like that, they are having the circular is there. But what is happening, as per government circular, we have to unload the overload vehicle. But what is happening, that unloading vehicle should be in the custody of the concessionaire.
Yeah.
Abhi, who will take the risk of unloading?
Exactly,
Who will take the risk
exactly.
of
No,
gardening the
absolutely
safeguard of
no.
the unloading material? Who is
I
going to load
know,
it?
I know. That's exactly the
This
problem.
is the
So
problem.
you don't have that authority. So you cannot take security of that consignment, whatever extra load. There is no
Yes,
place to store it also. So
yes,
then
sir.
that's why you let it through. Actually, you know what happens? I heard this sometime back from one of the truck transporters. What they were saying is they let's say there are 3 toll plazas, right, on a road. So
Yes,
once the first toll plaza will collect the money, but the second and third will not collect any money. They will, I mean, they will not do the extra, again, they will not charge them for the extra weight. So anyway, so yeah, that's the issue.
sir.
So there
If,
is the Supreme Court has said you have to offload and you cannot, but then you need to have facilities to offload, you need to have security of that consignment, because then it will go into litigation and all that, right? Something is lost, something,
yes, sir.
who will take responsibility for that? There is
Yes,
no policy on that, there is no clarity on that. Simply saying, oh, you need to offload and then not let them go. What will, in reality, practically, what will be done? That is, there is no solution that has been given. So that those have to be actually, protocols have to be set for that. And you're right about the other earlier thing that you said, but that's again a question of the haphazard development that is happening on the road, which is clogging the drainage and then making the road, unworthy of travel. That is again a problem of planning, and planning is the government's department's responsibility. So
no, sir.
yeah, no, what I'm saying
Sorry
is,
to object, sir. What is happening? What is happening,
yeah,
sir? When you are constructing a green highway, there are channels, agricultural channels are there. So what is the agricultural channels, whatever the drainage channels are, they are shared by the local farmers. Once you develop the road, then they are converting the agricultural land into industrial land or commercial land. When they are transferring the land into the commercial land, they are filling the channels. So what is happening, even though you are having the box culvert or pipe culvert, whatever it may be, to transfer the left to right, either left hand side or right hand side, they are developing it. And authority, either government or panchayati, rural panchayati is not having any authority to stop that area, because there is a private land. Whatever the channel is, previous channel is, for years it is there for the agricultural purpose, not owned by anything. So government is not in a position to stop the from filling. So because of that, the drainage problem is coming. Once the drainage problem comes, the road will automatically damage.
okay.
Thank you, sir. Due to the lack of time, we are moving on to the one last question from Mr. Tony. We really need to come up with rules governing uncontrolled and controlled crossings. We are implementing uncontrolled zebra crossings on wide carriageways where the speed and traffic is high, which puts pedestrian safety a critical issue. What shall be the rules governing controlled and uncontrolled crossing? Don't we need to have a clear guidelines for such installations?
No, absolutely, Tony, I agree with you. This is so. If you the data shows about 20% of these fatalities are happening at these uncontrolled crossings. So and this is because directly you have access onto the highways. Several examples I know on the projects I worked on. This is an issue. Directly you are merging into a national highway without any kind of feature. I mean, you have now there are stop signs that they're putting, but I think you need to. I think on most World Bank projects, what we have now said is you need to have a speed hump and a stop sign before you enter the main highway. So that is something that is there. But yes, I agree that we need to have a policy on this. Also, a lot of places where, let us say, it is a divided carriageway and there's a median. What is happening is people are cutting through the median. These are illegal cuts that people are doing, and the reasoning is, again, I think somewhere we need to be looking at, and this is my own personal opinion, but what is happening is, see, we have a lot of people who are conscious of cost conscious, right? I mean, everybody is cost conscious. So especially those people who have to take a U-turn, you have to go, let's say I have to go half a kilometer, take a U and then go on the other side. They don't want to do that. So a lot of them, they are either cutting, making illegal cuttings, or they are actually going the opposite direction. So I think this is a problem, unique problem for us. We need to be looking at why are people doing this? Is it so? If we not providing the U-turns at the correct places? I think that's a question that needs to be asked. And are there, what are some of the guidelines we need to kind of come up with to make sure that there are enough medium cards, or there are enough access to residences, access to businesses, that they don't need to go, because like I said, opposite direction, people going 4.5%, I think 4.2% or something is the next highest after speeding in terms of fatalities. So anyway, I agree. Short answer is yes, we need to have very clear guidelines for these controlled and uncontrolled processes. I agree with you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Anila Cyril, Junior Scientist of NATPAC, to propose a vote of thanks for this technical talk.
One and all, it is my honor and privilege to extend our heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the NATPAC family and the entire organizing committee of the TransTech Talk series. Our sincere gratitude goes to Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan for his technical presentation on road safety in India. His insights into the challenges and comprehensive management framework proposed have provided us with valuable perspectives. The scorecard presented evaluating India's performance on various aspects of road safety management has revealed areas of improvement highlighting existing vulnerabilities. The structured strategy addressing short-term, medium-term, and long-term needs offers a clear and actionable roadmap for all stakeholders and policymakers. The examples of successful road safety initiatives in India serve as an inspiration and testament to what can be achieved through concerted efforts and effective management. It was heartening to see SCDP corridor as one of the success stories in your presentation. As you know, NATPAC was part of this project. We extend our sincere thanks to you for dedicating your time and sharing your knowledge with us. Your contribution to the talk series has been invaluable, and we look forward to future engagements where we can continue to learn and grow together. Also, we would like to thank all the attendees for their participation. Your participation and engagement have made this session a success. We are thankful to our director, Professor Samson Matthew, for his constant guidance and support in shaping this wonderful session. Once again, thank you, Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan, for your exceptional contribution. We look forward to many more such enlightening sessions in the future. Thank you all and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. The meeting section is ended. We'll be winding up the session right now. Thank you.